What, are we rolling? We're rolling, folks. Welcome to the ARCA Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Colby Evans, a.k.a. Startin' Parker here, and now coming to you live on a second consecutive Thursday. Like I said, guys, as you guys know, I usually do this show on a Tuesday, but since we didn't have entry lists, now for the second week in a row, we've had to do this show on a Thursday night. But anyway, we're here. We're going to talk about ARCA's return to Tri-City for the first time in over 21 years. And we have the ARCA Hell Tour, everybody in ARCA's favorite weekend in the garage. Everybody does not look forward to this weekend. It's even for some of the bigger teams, it's a push, man, where the ARCA series has 2 races in 3 days. Luckily, this time it is not at a road course and a dirt track. It's just simply at a big track and then a dirt track, a little bit easier for the teams. But we're going to go over Tri-City, talk about the West Series. That championship starting to wrap up. Only a couple races left to go for them. And then we're going to preview Michigan first, because that is tomorrow afternoon. And then Sunday afternoon is the Springfield 1 mile dirt track. So we're going to discuss that in order. And yeah, should be a fun show. I'm going to go through my little intro and we will jump right into the Tri-City action. So you guys know the drill. Follow me on social media at Startin' Parker on Twitter. Last I checked, we were only a couple of followers away from 5,900 followers. We're close to 6,000. So if you're not following me on Twitter, then go follow me there. Like and subscribe to the channel. Turn on that bell for notifications. We are less than 50 subscribers away from 2,000. So again, if you like what you see here and you like the ARCA channel, hit the subscribe button. Super chats are open if you'd like to support the show. You don't have to send one, but if you're more than welcome to, go right into my racing fund. I say that every week. It goes right to my racing fund. And then, of course, check out the Racing Experts for all NASCAR me-related content. But enough of the intro. I know you guys are not here for that. Let's jump right into Tri-City. So, a lot of people might watch the show is like, well, what's a Tri-City Raceway? Tri-City Raceway is it's a very unique oval. It's in Washington. Richland, Washington. This guy's what's listed on Racing Reference. I'm not exactly familiar with the town. The West Series had been coming off and on to this racetrack for many years. They had been racing at this track since the 60s. That's just to give you guys a projection of how long they've actually been racing there. But the last time that they had raced there was 2003. So it had been a long time. And there were actually many years where the track had sat abandoned. Luckily, it was only a couple of years, so the track didn't fall into disrepair. It wasn't vandalized. Like, it was literally just sitting there. So it didn't take much for the track to get back going again. And thankfully, not only did we have racing there again, we actually had a sold-out house for last Saturday's race at Tri-City. The only unfortunate part about it for me was the car count. I was a little disappointed by it. And I know a lot of people, some people I had talked to in ARCA, wished that the car count was a little bit higher. I won't name names, but I did talk to some people I know in ARCA, and we all wish the car count was a little bit higher. But there were some issues with some people who had planned to enter and unfortunately couldn't. The entry list only had 15 cars. We were going to have some extra entries. Bobby Hillis, he wanted to show up. That car's been having engine problems. The Zero of Tony Huffman, I believe, was supposed to show up, but Tony is still recovering from, I think, a knee injury. Either way, hopefully Tony's still getting better. The one entry from the Keenely Racing team, the Robbie Keenely team, they had one car there for Danica Dart, but I believe Robbie was going to drive a car, but they've been having engine issues since Irwindale when they had an engine failure in practice. And I think the 77 probably would have shown up, but unfortunately, I think they've torn up everything they got. The 77 has been in a lot of crashes this year, and I think, unfortunately, they just tore up all their inventory right now, and they're kind of restructuring all that. So we potentially could have had oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot Kyle Keller. I keep forgetting Kyle Keller's a part of this team. I'm used to Kyle Keller being a part of his own team. So I do apologize. Keenely was going to have 3 cars. So I do apologize for that. Little mishap. Again, I'm used to Kyle Keller running for his own team. But we were going to have a couple extra entries, potentially close to probably 20 cars. So that part sucks, but still nonetheless, 15 cars on a half-mile track. 15 cars on a half-mile track, not the worst thing ever. You can do a lot with 15 cars on a half-mile track. And even when you go back into 2020, when ARCA West only had 11 cars, some of those races actually were not that bad, surprisingly enough, for only 15 cars. But it was kind of the usual class of clowns, as we like to call them. We had some new faces. We had Casey Klein in the 88 for Mike Nackey's team. Jess Havens was in the number 6, another Jerry Pitts entry. Rick Reddick Tackman, yes, the Rise Motorsports main series ARCA team decided to run this race with Rick Reddick Tackman, who ran for the team at Elko. Of course, Danica Dart back. She's on a part-time schedule. And Greg Biffle, yes, you guys might remember him. NASCAR, big-time NASCAR superstar, Xfinity champion, truck champion, very accomplished cup driver. Greg Biffle made a return. He is a former track champion somewhere in the 90s, maybe 95, I think they said it was, 95, 96, I think was the year. But he is a track champion of Tri-City, so this track meant a lot to him personally. So it was great to see him come back. He ran for the Joe Ferre operation, the 23 car. So like I said, we had a big cast of new characters and then against the old characters. And the story it's been for the last couple of races, Tyler Reif versus Sean Hingorani. Sean Hingorani, who's been driving various rides this season, started off with Hattori. Then that deal blew up. And then he ran an emergency one-race deal for Joe Ferre. And then he's been stuck in his deals with Jerry Pitts in the 5 car and then Venturini in the 15. And I do believe for the remaining of the season, he will still be splitting time between the 5 and I will believe the 15 or just a Venturini entry in general. But that has been the story of the ARCA West season in 2024 is Tyler Wright versus Sean Hingorani. They've definitely been the class of the field for pretty much this entire year. Only outside of a couple of instances has it not been them leading the field. We've seen instances of Bill McAnally's team run some competitive races with Jack Wood, but nothing really too spectacular. And Trevor Huddleston, just seems like this has not been the year for Trevor Huddleston, despite having a great last year. Really haven't had the best season for Trevor Huddleston. They've been very quiet this year, to be honest. So we came here. Obviously, it was wide open. We had a Friday night practice, open practice for the teams who wanted to show up. You didn't have to. It was just an open practice. Quite a few teams took part in that. The real practice took place on Saturday. Unshockingly, Sean Hingorani won practice. Tyler Reif was second. I think the biggest shocker for practice for me was Todd Souza was third. Eric Johnson Jr. was fourth. Those are two guys who have not really run all that good this season. Eric Johnson Jr., I just feel like Eric Johnson Jr., in my personal opinion, is a victim of Bill McAnally just spreading too thin. Now, obviously, Bill McAnally has his truck team, which you can just tell is the primary focus. The ARCA team has definitely regressed since Bill McAnally has put more focus into his truck operation. It's obvious. Whether they want to tell you or not, it's obvious based on how much speed the Bill McAnally cars have shown ever since the truck team has started to take off. And I was curious, man, what's it like going to be with this second full-time car? And, man, it could be just Eric Johnson being a rookie and maybe just a mixture of they're not even putting as much effort into the 19 as the 16. But I don't know. The 19 has just not been showing much at all this season. So to see the 19 up there and Todd Souza up there in the top 5 for practice, I'm like, man, we got a wide open field here. Greg Biffle, despite, like I said, being the former track champion of Tri-City, I expected him to be a lot better. He was only 9th, but you also got to remember the West Series field is a lot closer than I believe a lot of the other fields. So the top 10 was only separated by 0.6 of a second. The top 9 was only separated by 0.3 of a second. So from Greg Biffle in 9th to leader Sean Hingorani, it was only 0.3. So not that much. Obviously, most teams in the West Series run Yates motors. It's not as Ilmore heavy as the main division. So that could kind of contemplate why that series is a little bit more even with the West Series running Yates. For qualifying for the race, Sean Hingorani would win the pole as well. Tyler Reif, again, shocker. They were first and second pretty handedly over the field. Sean Hingorani was a full 10th quicker than Tyler Reif, and Tyler Reif was over 0.2 quicker than third place. So that tells you right there. kind of you look at the qualifying results versus the rest of the field, the 5 and the 13 were going to be the class in the field. It kind of feels like how the 18 and the 20 car used to be, I think, last year and the year before that in the ARCA series. It felt like it was just a 2-horse race every week. Low key, that's kind of what it's been like in the West Series, to be honest with you, the last couple weeks. It does feel like it's been a 2-horse race between the 5 and the 13 car, or whatever ride Sean is in. It's just been a 2-horse race between those cars. So, and that's not to take anything away from the rest of the field. That's just what it's been like, Greg Biffle was 4th, Kyle Keller was 5th, Jess Havens was 6th, Takuma Koga was 7th. 8th was Casey Klein. And then, of course, like I said, Eric Johnson Jr. and Todd Souza qualifying where they normally run, which is the back half of the top 10. Trevor Huddleston down in 11th. Like I said, I just don't know what's happened to that team. They have really regressed this year. All 15 cars did take a lap time. David Smith, God bless David Smith. I love the guy, old guy. Always cheer for the old guys in the series. He was last. So the race got going. Very late, as usual. The only thing I do not like about the West Series is that they start very late, mainly due to the time zone differences. So when it's like only 8 o'clock there, it's 10 o'clock where I live, and it's 11 o'clock on the East Coast. So, yeah, that's the only thing. That's probably the only biggest complaint I can say about the West Series personally is that the time zones really make it inconvenient for a guy like me. Thank God they run on a Saturday night, because if they ran on a weeknight, I'd have to go to bed. But anyway, so we get the race going. Tyler Reif actually gets the jump. Tyler Reif actually gets the jump on Sean Hingorani. And that kind of figures with the way that the layout of the track works, it almost feels like on the launch when the tires are fresh, that having the outside could actually give you the advantage. And that's pretty much exactly what happened. He was able to carry the momentum. And by the end of the second corner, coming into turn 3, would you classify that as turn 3? I mean, if you look up a picture of Tri-City, for me, it's like a mini Pocono. You got turn 1, you got your tunnel turn, and then you got turn 3. So I'll just call it 1, 2, and 3. If that's not right, well, that's not right. I don't know. That's just how I interpret it personally. But Tyler Reif got the jump and pulled out to a decent-sized lead. But again, just like what we've seen this year, he gets in front of Sean, but he can't get away. Like maybe about a couple of car lengths, maybe at most a second, but he can't shake the 5 away. And slowly but surely, the 5 started to reel in the 13, and within the first 20 laps, we did see a lead change. Or was it after lap 20? It was lap 23 is when Sean Hingorani got back by the 5 or the 13 of Tyler Reif to take the lead. But same way goes around. Sean Hingorani takes the lead, but he can't get away from Tyler. Meanwhile, they're just pulling away from the field. Jack Wood's sitting in 3rd. He's just kind of riding. And the real battle, you could say, is from like 4th through 9th. Those people are so evenly matched, and they're trading positions left and right with Greg Biffle, Casey Klein, Todd Souza, Jess Havens. They're all running right near each other. So it's good mid-pack action. From, like I said, about 4th to 9th. And then you kind of had some of the, like I said, the cars towards the back of the field. Nick Janitis, Takuma Koga, the 31. They were kind of in their own battle as well. Along with the 19, I don't know what happened to the 19 exactly. I think they broke a tire rod at some point in the race. And then you had David Smith out there, like I said, at the back of the field. He's just chugging along. I mean, he's a little bit off the pace. David Smith a little bit off the pace, but hey, he's out there. He's just out there having a good time. I mean, when you're that age, when you're mid 70s, you got that kind of money. What else are you gonna go do? You might as well go race. So, like I said, not a whole lot to this. Kind of like with Shasta. Not a whole lot. There were no cautions in the first period. They lapped up quite a through the field. I think they lapped up to 6th or 7th, maybe even 8th. I'm not sure exactly where. But we came to the break. I was actually shocked that they had a break, but then again, with the new track, it's kind of not shocking that they would have a break. Of course, teams came down, changed set of tires. Didn't really need fuel. The cars could easily go to the end of the entire race on fuel, but I think they added fuel anyway. Got back going green again. Once again, Hingorani with the jump. This time, though, we would have our first debris caution about 19 laps later for debris. But it's just a basic debris caution, nothing too bad. Got back going again, and then we had kind of the first big moment of the race. It looked like for a split second, Greg Biffle was actually going to get for the lead. He had gotten up to third. He had gotten upside the 13, and he was challenging him. And I'm like, here we go. This is where the Biff can go on. But then he misses turn 3. Washes up, and quickly loses spots. The 16 of Jack Wood, unfortunately, bumps him out of the way. So the one shot it looked like Greg was going to have for the lead, that was gone. So, and then he spun on lap 115 just to add insult to injury. Luckily, he didn't lose a lap. But pretty much after that, I knew it was kind of done because I don't think you were allowed to come in and change your tires after that. And I think Greg flat spotted them in the spin because his lap times were – it's kind of like Greg was just running lap times to finish the race. He really wasn't running anything close to lap times he had been running previously, even on the fresher tire. So that kind of sucked. Maybe if Greg was allowed to come in – because I think the only tires he probably had were the tires he just took off, the 75 lappers, which – I mean, heck, that probably would have been even worse. So, kind of poor Greg was on what he had. But, he was out there fighting, man. He was out there fighting. He wasn't afraid to get rough and tough. I mean, even at 55 years old, it's kind of hard to believe, Greg is that old. I keep thinking he's like, maybe late 40s. I didn't realize he was in his mid-50s. I mean, the guy has not aged. You look at a photo of Greg Biffle, the guy has not aged like in like 2 decades. Just a little bit of gray hair is all that has changed about him. But when you look at it like him in general, he has not aged at all. Like, hopefully all of us can be like Greg Biffle and look that good at 55. Got back going green again. Another quick caution on lap 126 for the spin. The 6-car spins, say that 5 times fast, of Jess Havens. But again, no harm, no foul. We'll get back going green again. It was on this restart, the deciding restart. Tyler Reif gets the jump on Sean Hingorani and gets the lead back, and does not look back. Although Sean was close, and he kept reeling him in. But like what we've seen many times, once one gets out in front of the other, it's hard to get back by. And you knew Tyler was racing for everything he had out there because Tyler, he had lost the points lead. Well, now he's gained back the points lead, and now he's trying to extend that points lead. So, but nonetheless, the 13 got back by, and he held him off to the finish. And Tyler Reif, so for Central Coast Racing, who had not won a race in 16 years, they have now gone 2 straight wins with Tyler Reif. And with all the attrition at the end of the race, Todd Souza came out of nowhere and picked up a 4th place finish, which I do believe, looking at his results this season, is his best result in his first top 5 of the year for Todd Souza. So definitely a great run for him. Good, very solid day for both cars. It is kind of funny that last year was supposed to be Todd Souza's quote-unquote retirement tour, and it seems like he's just ran full-time this year anyway. But nonetheless, Todd picks up his first top 5 finish of the year. Much needed finish for him. Jack Wood was 3rd. Kyle Keller, another top 5 finish. Casey Klein was 6th. Trevor Huddleston, again, disappointing night for Trevor. Just never really saw any speed. 7th. Jess Havens, 8th. Greg Biffle, like I said, I think Greg was just kind of limping around. His tires were shot. 9th. Nick Janitis for the Jan Qualkenbush team at least got a top 10, although it looks like he spun. Literally coming to the line. It looks like Nick Janitis spun and hit the wall, so that sucks for that team. Takuma Koga, 11th. Rick Reddick, Techman, 12th. Eric Johnson Jr., he did break a tire rod. They fixed it during the break. He was 13th. Danica Dart, 14th. David Smith was 16 laps down, but I think he had to go to the garage for a little bit because I don't think he went that much down in pure pace. But once again, all 15 cars finished, so no DNFs in a West Series race. It's been a long time since when was the last time we had every West Series car finish? Because I know we've had, like I said, a lot of starting parks this year. So it's probably been maybe a couple of seasons or two, or maybe just a season or two since the last time we had a West Series race finish with all cars running. But I would say a solid return to Tri-City. I would love to see this track come back next year, and maybe we can get a couple more cars. Still not a bad race by any means. It's a very, very fun championship battle we're looking at. You got the very aggressive Sean Hingorani, and you got the underdogs, the real true underdogs, man, and Todd Souza and Kelly Souza. They've been around for so long. They've had a lot of bad times, and it's just good to see they're still going, and it's finally paying off. And Tyler Reif, man, the kid's a hell of a driver for that operation. Hell of a driver. But with Sean Hingorani leading the most laps at 109, he did get that precious extra point. So he only lost 3 points to Tyler Reif to this one. So he's still easily within championship bounds. The point standings coming out of this race with 4 races to go. Tyler Reif leads Sean Hingorani by just 7 points. As we head into the final 4 races, the next one is Madera. Jack Wood is third, minus 46. Trevor Huddleston is fourth, minus 50. And Kyle Keller is minus 57 in fifth. So you can still say, now remember, the top 5 go to the banquet. The top 5 in the East Series go to the banquet, and the top 5 in the West Series go to the banquet. But you also want to finish higher. So right now, the battle from 3rd to 5th, still pretty hotly contested. I mean, that battle from Jack Wood to Kyle Keller, that's only 11 points. So, if you're Kyle Keller, you want to get higher on that totem pole when you go to the banquet for sure. So there's definitely still something for those guys to race for. But yeah, very hotly contested battle. Sean Hingorani in the final 4 races, he has 2 more races that I would assume would be with the number 5 of Jerry Pitts Racing, and does have 2 other races with Venturini. And that is where I think Tyler Reif might be in trouble. And we did see at Phoenix this year, Tyler Reif and them did struggle. Now, they did finish 11th, but if Sean Hingorani is running a Venturini car, which at that race, which I believe he is, that car is going to have an Ilmore. That Ilmore will be better than the Yates at a track like Phoenix. And having only like a 10-point gap, that's not going to cut it. That is not going to cut it for a race like that. So I'm curious, will CCR rent an Ilmore, or what they're going to, I don't know what they're going to do for that race, but with Sean being in a Venturini car for that race, I got to assume he is going to be in a Venturini car for that race. What's he going to do? I don't know. What is he going to do? I don't know. But if I'm Tyler Reif, you got to build as big of a gap as you can. I believe it's Bakersfield and Phoenix are the 2 races that he will be in a Venturini car. Madera and Roseville, which is All-American, he will be in the 5 car. So if you're Tyler Reif, you have to build more points on Sean Hingorani in the next 2 races. Because when he's driving that Venturini car, he's hard to beat, simply because the Venturini cars are just hard to beat in general. I mean, they just are. They are hard to beat. So if you're Tyler Reif, man, you got to look at these next 2 races as your big opportunity. Because if he has like a 10-point gap coming into Phoenix, I'd be very concerned. Phoenix is expected to bring at least over 30 cars at the minimum. So this championship is going to go down to Phoenix, no matter what. It is going to go down to Phoenix. And could it get ugly? Probably. Will it get ugly? More than likely. We've seen how Sean Hingorani races. I'm sure Tyler Reif, Todd Souza has been around this block longer than all of us. He has seen it all. He knows when it gets ugly too. But I can only imagine how hotly contested that race in Phoenix is going to be. Venturini is going to give Sean probably the best car that they can give him to win that championship. And Kelly and Todd are probably going to give the best car and the best engine that they can possibly give to Tyler. And I'm looking forward to that one. That's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. So the next 4 ARCA West races, man, it's going to be fun to watch. And that's why I still say, in my personal opinion, the ARCA West Series is my personal favorite of the 3 ARCA series. It's ARCA West, Main, and then East. And it's been like that for a couple years now. I'm not sure how you guys personally feel. but the ARCA West Series for at least the last 2 years has been my personal favorite of the ARCA Series, just simply because I feel like number one, the racing can be a little bit better on most weeks, and the championship battles have been a lot of fun. So, but yes, if you're Tyler Reif, you have to build points. You cannot afford to lose any ground to Sean Hingorani over the next couple weeks. So, like I said, the West Series, their next race is Madera in late September. It's actually the same weekend of Kansas. It is September 28th. So we got some time. Like I said, we only got 4 races left in the year, but with the way that the ARCA West schedule is spread out, we have to wait over a month and a half until the next race. Then we have Roseville, All-American on October 5th. Kern County on October 26th, and then Phoenix, part of NASCAR Championship Weekend, on November 8th. So still lots of time. I mean, we still got almost 3 months until this championship is crowned, but yeah, definitely. And I like Sean Hingorani now, but I want Tyler Reif and them to win this championship. It's just my personal belief. I want Tyler and Todd to get this championship. They're destroying the Owners' Championship right now. I think the 13 will win the Owners' Championship pretty houndly. For the Owners' Championship right now, Kelly Souza or Todd Souza, whichever one of them is listed as the owner, currently has a 46-point lead in the Owners' Championship right now. So I think the Souzas have pretty well locked up the Owners' Championship. But it's just a matter of can they lock up the Drivers' Championship as well. So, yeah. Fun looking forward to the West Series at Madera in a month and a half. That'll be fun. But now we transition to hang on a second. Do you think we'll have DNQs for the Phoenix race? Probably not. But I wouldn't be shocked if the race easily brings close to 30 to 35 cars. A lot of main series teams like to run that race because it's actually after the main series ARCA finale. So a lot of main series teams, like you'll probably see all 5 Venturini cars show up there. I'm sure Bobby Hillis will be back for that one. Maybe Andy Hillenberg's team will make an appearance. Sometimes they run that race, sometimes they don't. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But anyway, like I was saying, now we transition to over the main series. It's the ARCA Hell Tour, a weekend which all ARCA teams do not like. I've talked to some friends who work for Gibbs all the way down to Wayne Peterson. They really do not like this weekend. The ARCA Hell Tour began a couple years ago when they ran Watkins Glen on Friday and then ran Springfield that Sunday. And man, that just sucked for those poor teams, man. Going from a road course setup to a dirt track. And some of those teams use the same car. Luckily, it's changed now. To where it's just Michigan and then Springfield, which is a lot better for these teams considering the fact that compared Watkins Glen to Springfield, and you compare Michigan to Springfield, it's a much easier drive. And it's a much easier setup conversion. So, yeah. And the good news is, coming into this race, both car counts are up compared to last year. And that is always a plus when we have better car counts. For Michigan, we'll start up with Michigan, the Henry Ford Hell 200. We have 24 cars, I believe, for Michigan. And we only had 23 last year. So, again, right there, we're starting up with a positive. I will go down the entry list as follows from ARCARacing.com. The number 2 of Andres Perez de Lara, the number 6 of LeVar Scott. Jason Alexander returns to Fast Track Racing in the 10. My buddy Cody Dennison in the 11. Ryan Roulette back again for Andy Hillenberg in the 12. Chris Wright, everybody's favorite, in the 15. Tanner Gray returns to the 18 for the first time in a while. Of course, William Sawalich is not 18 yet, so he's not allowed to run this race. Jake Finch returns to the 20 for the first time since Salem. Amber Balkin in the 22. Tony Breidinger in the 25. Tim Richmond in the team. Great to see them back in the 27. Connor Zilich, fresh off his birthday a couple weeks ago. He is now 18, so he is eligible to run tracks like Michigan and Daytona. So good to see Connor out here in his first big track event. on ovals at least. Casey Carden returns to the ARCA series, this time now in the 31 car and not for club. Christian Rose in the 32. Frankie Muniz, yes, Malcolm in the Middle is back in the ARCA series, driving the 33 for Josh Rayom. Greg Van Alst in the 35. Brad Smith in the 48. Gus Dean is in the 55 this week. Jeff McZink, a Michigan native. Great to see him back in the 65. Andy J, great to see Andy J back. Again, kind of sucks that team could not run full time, but they couldn't find the funding, so they're not going to run, but still great to see him back nonetheless. Jason Kitzmiller in the 97. Michael Maples in the 99. Alex Clubb in the 03. And Con Nicolopoulos returns to the 06. Great to see Con back after getting a little shaken up after his crash in Charlotte. So definitely compared to last year, a better field for sure. Last year's field, if you remember, we had 23 cars for last year's race, which was nice. It was the biggest car count since 2018. However, when you look at the quality of the field, that was kind of diminished. We had we had like 3 or 4 starting parks in the field. I think we only had like 20 cars that ran the whole race. So a little bit better this year compared to last year, I think, in terms of the quality of the field. The starting parks for this race, I don't think we have any starting parks actually for this race looking at it. I did talk to Brad Smith and the team do plan on running the full distance. Mainly I would probably say Brad because it's his home track. Brad, for people who don't know, Brad Smith is from Shelby Township, Michigan, not too far from Michigan International Raceway or Speedway. So that's probably why Brad's running the whole race. That ECR motor, man, though, it needs work. So I'm a little fear that it might blow up. I really am because it's an old motor and it's a fast track. It really is a fast track, and I'm just afraid it's going to blow up, and I don't know what that's going to do to Brad's ear. But we'll find out. We'll find out, I guess. But other than that, I think everyone's going to run the whole race. Obviously, the 06, they're a full race effort. The 03 is a full race effort. No starting parks for fast track. So it looks like all 24 cars will be running the entire race. And that right there in itself is a huge plus. Is a huge, huge plus. Because when you look at these Michigan ARCA races, last year we only had, like I said, last year I think we only had 19 to 20 cars try to go the distance. And before that, the biggest ARCA field was 2018. And even in 2018, when we had 26 cars, we go way back to 2018, we had 3 starting parks in that one. So in some ways, we're doing better than what we were then. I feel like this race is wide open in a way. Last year, you look at last year's race, that was the Jesse Love Tour. Last year's season was the Jesse Love Tour. Jesse Love won how many races last year? 11 races last year and not to the championship. It really was the Jesse Love Tour last year. But you look at the forgotten dominator of last year's race, it was Jesse Love. He led a lot of laps, but it was actually Andres Perez de Lara. Won the pole for this race. And, we've been kind of discussing all season, is a full-time ARCA regular actually going to win a race this season? And I had pointed out on the schedule, I think Michigan will give us that. I really do. Andres Perez de Lara, he had the car to beat in this race last year. The one thing that costed Andres the race last year, you guys remember, it wasn't him, it was his motor. He blew an engine last year. He was leading with 11 laps to go, but then the motor started to go sour and it blew up a couple laps later. And then Jesse Love won the race with a last lap pass. So Andres was probably going to win this race last year. They have the speed. And LeVar Scott, he's got plenty of big track experience as well. I think it's a wide open race for this year. We've seen Tanner Gray be competitive. He won Charlotte, but we also saw at a track like Kansas, that 18 car is beatable. And frankly, with all due respect to Tanner, I just don't think he's all that good as well. I mean, even though, yes, he's in the best car, I really don't, personally, I don't think he's all that good. I think his brother Taylor is a little bit better. I don't know what you guys think. I mean, Tanner's a great guy. I've met him a couple times. He's a great guy. but I think personally Taylor's a little bit better than him. And like I said, you got the 28 car, Connor Zilch in his first Michigan effort too. To me, this race is wide open for many, many cars. And it's so hard to believe. It is so hard to believe that if you would have told me this deep into the season, that Venturini has only won 2 races this year, and they were the plate tracks, Gus Dean at Daytona and Jake Finch at Talladega. If you would have told me that those were the only races that Venturini were going to win so far this year, I don't know if I would have believed you. But it is shocking that Venturini has only won 2 races this year. Now, is that in part to the full-time drivers they have? Who knows? I expected Chris Wright to do a little bit better this year. Tony's doing about what she normally does. I think she's doing well. Amber, well, is Amber. I didn't expect too much out of her personally. Tony, like I said, she's doing about what I would expect her to do. She's doing well. Some weeks she has bad weeks. Some weeks she has good weeks. Chris Wright, same. Sometimes he has really bad weeks. He's been stepping it up over the last couple weeks. I mean, I gave him his flowers for his, you guys know I'm not the biggest Chris Wright supporter, but I gave him his flowers for Elko. He did a good job, and he nearly won the race. Clean. Kinda. I mean, no one's ever clean at Elko, but still, about as clean as you can get. So, but yeah, and in terms of this week, I don't know if Venturini is even going to win this week. Jake Finch, we've seen him. He's not been overly competitive. On these bigger tracks, I'm sure he'll be up there, but will he be competing for the win? Honestly, I don't think so. In my opinion. Amber and Tony, I'm sure they'll be up there too. Same with Gus and Chris. They'll be up there, but I don't think they're actually going to be competing for the win. I'm sure they'll probably get top 5s. But in my opinion, I think the cars to beat coming into this race will be the 2, the 6, and the 28. The 2, the 6, the 28. And I think you want to throw in the 18 car in 4th. And if you want to give me the 5th best car to beat, I'll go an oddball entry. I'll say the 73. Don't count out Andy Jankowiak. I personally don't see Venturini having the best weekend this weekend in particular. And it's nothing against them at all. Nothing at all. But whenever Class shows up, NEJ, they show up to win now. Like, they show up to be as good as they possibly can. They're not just showing up to show up. If they wanted to do that, they would do that. But no, they're here to show up and win. So I really do think we're in for an oddball winner. I do. I really do think we are in for an oddball winner for this race. And, I've been saying it on the last couple of podcasts for the sake of Andres Perez de Lara's championship win, because let's face it, he's going to win the championship. I mean, he just is. He's got a huge lead coming out of Elko. His lead is up to 44 points. Now, LeVar Scott is actually closing on him, but the lead's too big. I mean, unless Andres Perez de Lara gets like 3 consecutive last place finishes and LeVar goes on to win, maybe. But I can't see LeVar gaining 44 points in just 8 races. That's an astronomical hill for him to climb, especially if Andres just keeps churning out a top 10 finish every week. Finishing ahead of him, 4 points there, 3 points there. He's not going to get enough. I mean, like I said, Andres would have to have DNF after DNF after DNF if LeVar wanted to close back in. So, you never know, but a 44-point lead in the ARCA series is pretty much a guarantee, in my opinion. So, but yeah, for the sake of his championship, he does need to win a race. We've been very crucial about that. I've been very honest and open about that. For the sake of Andres' championship victory, he's got to win a race. He really does. And I think this right here is personally his best shot. Absolutely his best shot. Rev Racing were the team to beat in last year's race. And I think they're going to show it here again. Because remember, they won in 2022 with Nick Sanchez. So you go back not only last year, you go back to 2022 as well. The last 2 years, arguably, Rev Racing has been the car to beat. And I think they're going to continue that this year. So, if you want, but I don't think it's actually going to be Andres. Once again, I'm going to go with LeVar Scott. as my pick. I'm going to go with LeVar Scott to win the race. I don't think Connor Zilisch. I know Connor Zilisch has been a superstar in the short tracks, but this is his debut on at Michigan International Speedway, and I don't think, as great as that car is going to be, I don't know if he's going to be able to pull it off in his debut. So I'm going to go with LeVar Scott as my winner's pick, and my dark horse pick, we're going to go with Andy J as my dark horse pick for this race. But again, very solid field size. Biggest car count since 2018. Again, that's always a positive in the right direction for the series. Hopefully we can race tomorrow as well. Apparently there's rain showing up, because why not? You know, you need rain. Just call NASCAR. Every time there's freaking NASCAR, there's rain shows up. I mean, amazing how that freaking happens. But yeah, catch the Henry Ford Health 200 tomorrow. I believe it is FS1, FS2. Let me check the entry blank. The entry blank says FS1 at 6 p.m. Eastern, so 5 o'clock my time. First place, $10,000. Last place, 24th is $1,400. Obviously, with contingency awards, $14,800 for first, $92.75 for second, and $60.50 for third. It's supposed to be a one-day show. Supposed to be. That's the key word. Supposed to be. But yeah, I wonder if ARCA has some ideas on what they might do to try to beat the rain, because we cannot wait. The date on Sunday cannot change. So they got to get the race in tomorrow. So who knows? It might even be a race just a lap 50. Might be a race just a lap 50. But I think it's going to be a good one. The ARCA races at Michigan are usually pretty good, honestly. With the drafting package that the ARCA cars have and their engine package, they're actually pretty good races. Even when we only had like 18, 19 cars, the drafting really allowed for some decent racing. I'm not going to lie. So I wouldn't miss tomorrow. I think we're in for a good one. But like I said, I think we're finally going to see a full-time main series driver get a win, and I'm going with LeVar Scott. And like I said, my dark horse pick is Andy Jankowiak. Fast forward to 2 days later, we're now on to Springfield, the Springfield dirt track, the first of the 2 dirt tracks that ARCA runs on every year, the Springfield, Illinois dirt track, and then a DuQuoin State Fairground dirt track later in the year. But Springfield is usually up first. We got the entry list up here, and we are back over 20 cars, and that is a miracle. Did not expect that, to have over 20 cars for the dirt races, but hey, I'll take it. I believe, how many cars for the dirt race again? 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm counting on my screen, by the way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 21! Oh, yeah. 21 cars. That's pretty good. That is the same amount of cars as 2022. So, hey, at least we tied. At least we tied that. That's not too bad. As for the entry list, again, we will read down as follows. This is from ARCARacing.com. A little bit of different entries from Michigan. The 2 of Andres Perez de Lara. The 4, yes, Quarterman, Dale Quarterly. Remember, the car that Dale is driving is the same car that he bought from Bill Hendren and Ryan Unzinger when that team shut down. So this is a good car that he's in. LeVar Scott in the 6. Sean Corr returns to the ARCA series in the 8. Bryce Hogberg in the 10. Cody Dennis in the 12. Tim Monroe, great to see Tim Monroe back. He's driving his own car under Fast Track Racing in the 12. Chris Wright. Kelly Kofsky, always great seeing Kelly. Love to see him running these dirt races. Hopefully he can finally get that win. He's driving the Brandt team for Mike Allgaier Motorsports. They only show up for the 2 dirt races every year. It's always good to see him come out. William Sawalich, of course, in the 18. Isabella Robusto in the 20. Amber Balkan in the 22. Tony Breidinger in the 25. Brayden Laster, the pizza man, the dirt guy. He runs his Gold Digger late model, which I love. In the 31 for Rise Motorsports. Christian Rose in the 32. Brad Smith in the 48. Taylor Reimer, or Ramir, sorry about the pronunciation. She runs dirt cars, and she also runs in the local late model series, where she's been fairly successful. I believe she just came off a win recently But she runs the Buzzballs car. I love that car. The Buzzballs car. I love that car. Brian Clubb's back for his second start of the season in the 86. Note, the 86 will not be at Michigan, but is running Springfield. Michael Maples in the 99, Alice Clubb in the 03, and Nate Muller in the 06. So there will be starting parks in this race. Brad is not going the full race. Can tell you that right now. He is not. He'll be a starting park. More than likely, Nate Muller will be a starting park. They ran quite a few laps, though, in the last couple of races. So maybe Nate will run probably maybe about half the race before I see him pulling off. I think that's it. I think, the 86 might be a starting park as well. It's hard to say. The 86 will probably be a starting park as well. So I think you're looking at 18 cars. You're looking at 18 cars. Although, just like with Elko, they'll probably leave the 86 out there for a little bit longer than just a couple laps. I think Brad will probably be just a couple laps before he pulls off. But I could see the 06 and the 86 running probably a decent amount of laps. Before they pull off. But other than that, we got all these full race cars. Now, you guys did see my tweet. I did tweet about it because the ARCA Pit Box had originally posted that Brent Cruz, who won, was it this race last year or was it the other race last year? Or DuQuoin, I'm not sure. But Brent Cruz, no, it was this race last year. That's right. Brent Cruz was originally supposed to drive. That's what it said in the pit box. And I just took it as, well, they already got 5 cars, so they're going to run a 6th one. That's why I put that tweet out. And I even posted that screenshot so you guys didn't think I was crapping on you. That's what it said. But then they revised the article. They took him out. So that really sucks that Brent Cruz couldn't come back. He dominated this race last year. So I do apologize for that. But it looked like for a brief moment, maybe we're going to have 6 Venturini cars, which God forbid if they were running 6. My God. And just like with Michigan, guys, I think this one's wide open. I think it really is. You know, you don't have Jesse Love. Jesse Love and Brent Cruz dominated the dirt races last year. So I think it's wide open. You know, William Sawalich, it's hard to believe. The 18 team has never won at this track. That is very hard to believe. I don't think they've won any dirt races, actually. Last year with William Sawalich, in this race, particularly last year, trying to pull up the results here real quick, but it's butchering. In this race last year, Brent Cruz won by 20 seconds. Keep in mind, Andres was 2nd. Jesse Love was 3rd. William Sawalich only finished 5th. You know, like I said, this was one of the races last year where William Sawalich did not lead a single lap and was only mildly competitive. So, will that change this time around? Who knows? Like I said, the dirt racing game it just points a wider perspective. It really does. In the 18 cars in this race last year, it was kind of a mess in a way. We had quite a few starting parks. Alex Clubb actually finished the race last year 86 laps down. I don't know exactly what happened. He ran the first couple laps, and then he pulled off, and then he mysteriously just came back on the track with 10 laps to go. So I'm not sure what happened there, but he actually finished the race 86 laps down. Brayton was in and out of the garage. He finished 32 laps down, and then 8 cars didn't have any mechanical problems. So we actually only had 10 of the 18 cars finish the race last year. It was a very, very high attrition race. Not sure it's going to be like that this year. Personally, I think it'll be a little bit more tamed. Yeah, that's right. Wow. Interesting. So Gibbs only has 1 win in an ARCA dirt track. But was that Tony? I thought that was Tony Stewart's ARCA car. So Tony Stewart won one of the dirt races in 2003. That's right. But wasn't that Tony's car that won that race? I thought Tony, because I know Tony did run some ARCA races, but I thought those were that was his own stuff. I'm not sure off the top of my head personally. Let's see here. I thought that was Tony's own stuff. I didn't think that was actually Gibbs's car. I mean, it had an 18 on it, yes. I'm going to go check that out real quick. If it was, it was. Let's see. I think that was at DuQuoin. That was at DuQuoin, I believe, where he won that race. Yeah, actually, the car owner was Tony Stewart. The car owner was actually listed as Tony Stewart, so that technically does not count at there. So interesting. But yeah, hard to believe that the 18 team has not won, going back to what we were talking about. And will they win this weekend? I don't think they will. I don't. In terms of who's going to win this weekend, I'm going to go with, and I want him to finally get that win. I'm going with Kelly Kovsky to get the win. You know, they only show up twice a year. They bring their A game every time they show up. I'm going with Kelly Kovsky to get the win in the 16 Allgaier Racing Chevrolet. Obviously, Brandt will be on the car. But my dark horse pick for this race to win, looking at this entry list, my dark horse pick, I am going to go with Isabella Robusto as my dark horse pick. The Venturini Power, she's been very aggressive on track, so I'm going to go with her as my dark horse. Kind of weird picking a Venturini car as a dark horse, but you know, it's just kind of how it goes sometimes. But I'm going to go with Kelly Kovsky for the win, and I'm going to go with Isabella Robusto as my dark horse. Now, you didn't notice that I missed one name on the entry list that is going to be at Michigan, but not here, and he is full-time. Greg Van Elst is not on the entry list, and that's sad to see. Now, this is not Greg opting. He's not dropping out of the series like he did last year, and that was for many different reasons then. Sources have said in a way that Greg Van Elst dropped out mainly due to that he is owed sponsor money. I tried to get that from a couple of different sources. Greg, I tried to talk to Greg, but he never got back to me. I'm sure he's probably not in the best mood having to miss a race. But the sources that told me was that Greg has not been paid by a sponsor. I'm not going to reveal the amount because I'm thankful they told me that, but I just can't put that publicly. I can't. But those were the sources that told me that's why the 35 is not showing. And I hate that. He ran the dirt races in 2022 and he did all right. He did all right for what he was capable of. He brought the car home in one piece both times. Nobody really has a race ready dirt car in ARCA. They just kind of take a car and put a dirt setup in it in a way. I'm not sure how many teams in ARCA honestly have specific dirt cars. I know not many do. And I don't think Greg did either. I think he just kind of took maybe a short track car and put a different setup in it or something. So, but it sucks not having Greg, and I can only imagine what his season might look like after this because there's still so much of the year left. We still got 8 races to go. So does this mean Greg is going back now down to part-time? Will we see him at Milwaukee? Who knows? But that does suck. That does suck to not see Greg there, even as a starting park just for points. But that unfortunately means we have lost another full-time driver. And he will lose his 50-point bonus as well. So Greg Van Elst, after Michigan, will fall. Even if he stays third after Michigan, he will fall all the way from probably third down to 8th. Probably down to 8th. Or, well, maybe not in one race, but he'll eventually fall down to 8th and maybe even 9th. So that sucks. Like I said, that really sucks for Greg, but unfortunately, that's just the nature of the beast that happens in the ARCA series sometimes. But I hope Greg can still come back for a couple of races, or maybe the rest of the season. Hopefully, he'll be at DuQuoin. But if he skipped this one, it isn't unlikely that he might skip DuQuoin too. Which, and in some ways, I don't blame him. Those tracks are easily. DuQuoin in general is notorious for tearing up cars. So, but hope everything is going all right over there. And like I said, also lost in this race will be 4 women. Yes, the women's movement in ARCA. Always got to love that. Taylor Reimer, Isabella Robusto, Amber Balkin, and Tony Breidinger. Ironically, all under Venturini. Yeah, and Taylor, like I said, don't count out Taylor either. She could be a dark horse. Didn't particularly do great in last year's race. She finished 2 laps down, but it was her first time in an ARCA car. You got to cut her some slack. So maybe they'll come back a little bit better setup this year. But, yeah, 4 women driving the ARCA series at a dirt track of all places for Venturini. So you got to love that. That's always a positive for women in motorsports as well. Now, which of the 4 of them will do the best? Man, that's a good one. I want to say Isabella, but I think it's either going to be Isabella or Taylor for who's going to be the best women coming out of this race. But it's going to be hard to tell. You know, they're going to get very aggressive out there on track. This race is also televised. It'll probably be during the Cup race at Michigan. Usually it gets done right before the Michigan race. The ARC race is held usually pretty early in the day, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central Time. First place is $6,000. Last place is $1,000. $11,300 for first with contingency awards. And as we know, the performance seed dirt double. I believe if said driver goes on to win both dirt races, they will win I believe, is that still going on what? The $50,000 bonus, I believe, is that still going on for this year? I think I read something that it was. But the performance seed dirt double, if one driver wins both dirt races, they will get a $50,000 bonus by ARCA. So, yeah, that's something to go after for them as well. So, yeah, like I said, guys, Tri-City was a lot of fun last weekend. We have 2 ARCA races, the Hell Tour, and I've been texting all my friends, and none of them are looking forward to this weekend. Trust me, they are not. Even my friend Cody, Cody Dennison's up for it. He's ready for it. But for a lot of these guys, they have to be clean in Michigan because I don't know how many of those guys are using the same car at Michigan and at Springfield. But yeah, some of those guys will be racing extra clean tomorrow. We'll just say that. So good luck to all ARCA drivers this weekend. Tomorrow at Michigan and tomorrow or in this Sunday at Springfield. Put on some great races for the fans. And hopefully, if we can get some entry lists out on Tuesday, I would like to talk about this on Tuesday and not have to wait till next Thursday again. But then again, it all depends on, is there even an ARCA race next weekend? I'm not even sure if there is. Is there an ARCA race next weekend? There might not be. So who knows? Maybe we'll get to actually do this review next Tuesday. But, oh, yeah. Wow. I didn't even expect to go 57 minutes. The next race is Milwaukee. And when the heck is that? Oh, God. Milwaukee is looking at the date. Milwaukee is August 25th. So it looks like we might have a week off for the well, maybe not actually. No weeks off. Dang it. I think I got that wrong. So looks like they are still racing next weekend, unless I got all my unless I got my times mixed up. But yeah, so poor ARCA guys, they're still gonna race next weekend, man. So no breaks. But anyway, guys, I think that's all for me tonight. Thank you very much for tuning in to tonight's podcast. My last ARCA race of the season will be Kansas. I'd love to go to Toledo, but it's just a long haul for me. It really is a very, very long haul for me. So I don't think I'll get to make it to Toledo, unfortunately. But I will be in Kansas. That'll be my last. Actually, this will be my last race period of the year. But we'll be at the Daytona Test in January. That'll be a fun then. So I got to go get some dinner. You guys have a great rest of your Thursday night and a great weekend. And we'll see you all, like I said, either next Tuesday or next Thursday. It all depends on when the entry list comes out. So give you all the goodbye salute, and we'll see you all in next week's show. Have a great weekend, guys, and see you later. Colby Evans, starting park car, signing off. Bye, guys.